Studios, the AusBiz COB is the key stuff you need to know about the day in business and finance.
Hello, and welcome to the COB. I'm Nadine Blaney. It is the 17th of June, and what an interesting session. So we came into the day thinking that we might see about a 0.25% drop at the open, and yeah, we did sink into negative territory initially, but look what happened throughout the day. Just consistently built up to the noon hour and then really remaining steady, and that is despite the fact that we do have an FOMC meeting, the first under the new Fed Chair Warsh. I had a chat with Tony Sycamore from IG earlier today, and he said that what normally happens, in fact what always happens the first meeting under a new Fed chair, is equity markets fall. But as you just saw, really positive at this stage of the game. That was the COB Australia Index. The S&P ASX 200 is up by about 0.5% as well. And as I just cast my eye toward US futures, NASDAQ and S&P 500 futures are positive. So not a bad session today. Let's call it a win on this Wednesday. And that was despite hearing some confessions coming through. So don't forget, we're knocking on the door of reporting season. And in the next few weeks, we'll have the last chance for these companies to really set the record straight when it comes to what they're expecting in their full year results. We heard from Flight Centre today. We heard from Fletcher Building. We also had an upgrade coming from Sims. We'll get you across the news in just a tick. And then, watching Warsh. So it is a big meeting, not expecting to see any big change in terms of interest rate expectations, although there will be a dot plot released, and that's actually something that Warsh is not a big fan of himself. So we'll have lots to talk about this time tomorrow morning, and I wonder as well whether we'll be talking yet again about SpaceX. Absolutely to the moon so far. We'll see if it can reach Mars and stay there in the next few weeks as we start to see some of that weight of money from the index funds starting to wane in the weeks and months to come. I'm sure if you go to the website, ausbiz.com.au, you'll find a number of conversations around SpaceX there if it tickles your fancy. One thing that did not weigh on the market, which is an interesting one, is the fact that we did see the price of iron ore retreating, so below $100 per wet metric ton. Despite that, we did see BHP still lift. In fact, BHP looking pretty sweet there, up by about 0.5%, $65.50. Just taking a look at some of the metals prices, and we've got copper edging higher on that U.S.-Iranian peace deal and ahead of that Fed policy meeting, which is probably why we're seeing BHP up, that uptick there. Rio, though, Fortescue sinking, South 32 mildly positive at $4.31 to end the session. Gold miners doing really well. In fact, when I look at my market map on my Iris viewpoint, we've got Northern Star up by 2.4%, Newmont 2.5%. I had a good chat with Angus Geddes, CEO and founder of Fat Profits. He said he's still sticking in the big end of town in these gold miners. Also, in the energy play, he still likes the big producers. He's not buying right now, but you can see what's happened as we continue to see pressure coming through on the price of oil extending its falls, though it is a bit of a theme on this Wednesday, seeing stocks steadying as traders await Warsh. So Brent crude diving below $80 and now down more than 1/3 from their peaks. Quick check in on tech check, I find hard to say. WiseTech Global doing really well, up by 4%. There's sort of a theme where we've got these tech names looking pretty solid today. Some of the best performers by percentage change, which I'll get to after our interview, have done so on no news. SiteMinder comes to mind. Speaking of news, Flight Centre cutting its FY26 profit guidance, but the stock nearing a 3-month high on that $200 million share buyback. Fletcher Building has warned that rising fuel costs and cost inflation are causing delays and cancellations of new projects. Sims has hit a 17-year high. It's improved its outlook. Also, supply demand in the metals complex looking good for it, but also data center demand it pointed to. Simol set for the best intraday gain on record after it said it would acquire Shamrock Civil, and ARN at a 4-week high on settling legal proceedings with Kyle Sandilands. Up by 23, close to 24%. Well, second time lucky for me. I get to speak with Jonathan Takadina from MPC Markets once again today. Hey, Jonathan, what do you put this Wednesday win down to, you think?
Look, just in general, I mean, like I will talk about fund flows, and I always talk about the passive index flows. And I actually have given you a chart on. Oh, there you go. So this is a chart that the ASX actually puts out every month. And what you can see there is that we've had record inflows into ETFs for the start of the year. And usually, we're already at $26 billion invested. And it usually takes a year for that amount of money to go into the markets. But we're already here, end of May, and we're already at 26 billion. And I don't see it slowing anytime soon. So every time that you see the markets tend to rise, it's just the money has to go somewhere. And structurally here in Australia, we've got the 11.5-12% compulsory super. That money has to generally go somewhere, and the first place it goes is the ETFs. And every time that you see these markets rise on when there's no real news, it's usually those passive flows going in. And you can just see as well, we have SpaceX, I think $66 billion in actual turnover. Overnight, it hit 220 and then closed just above 200. That could be some of those indexes sort of preempting that listing into those into the NASDAQ 100 as well. So just generally the way that money is flowing into the equities market via ETFs, and that's what's causing the indexes to rise.
Yeah, and also, as I mentioned earlier, higher copper prices on this potential US-Iran peace deal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for some reason, it doesn't usually work out this way, but the metals have been a risk-on or risk-off indicator. Generally, I don't quite agree with that, but that's what the market's indicating at the moment. And obviously, we've got this great peace deal that Trump has managed to pull off, and the market's priced that in. So obviously, we see the energy complex getting sold off, in anticipation of more oil flowing through the straits. And then, obviously, with the risk-on factor, gold's risen and copper has been the biggest beneficiary. Like the actual chart of copper is the most constructive out of all of the metals. And obviously, with the AI electrification, I think that trend continues.
Now, Jonathan, we had a great conversation earlier today. You named 4 stocks that have recently IPO'd. Yep. I will encourage our viewers and listeners to go in and find that. It's on the trade. You can get it on the website, on YouTube, various other places. I think you posted it on LinkedIn. Thank you. But we didn't have a chance to talk about gold. Angus Geddes from Fat Profit was calling gold back around 5,000. He's backing his call. He reckons the central banks will start to buy yet again. And of course, the dynamics with this peace deal in the Middle East. Are you still interested by gold? Because I think you are our sort of 2025 gold bug here.
Well, I was a self-proclaimed golf bug, back in 24 and then into 25, and obviously the price helped out. But I'm still of that opinion that gold had a period last year where it just went sideways for about 6 odd months, and I contend that we're still in that period there, because at the moment the froth is in the equities market, and while that's will continue to draw attention, obviously SpaceX, we've got 2 more mega cap IPOs coming as well. I think that's where the hot money will flow, and I think gold will still remain range bound for a while. But if we do see have a look at, say, central bank buying, they do release data on that on usually a quarterly or a 6-month basis. If you start to see that tick up, then we could see a test of the highs back at 5,500. But for the moment, I think it's going to be capped around the 47, 48, and then back down to 43, 44. And I think it goes sideways for at least another couple months. And I think around September, October, if we do see a wobble in the equities market, we will start to see a flow back into gold.
Okay, so we'll watch gold. When I was speaking with a couple investors yesterday, primarily they're value investors, but they are really saying, despite what you've said about the passive money flowing into the market, that it is a stock picker's market right now, that you can get some high quality for really cheap prices. Is that how you're approaching the market there at MPC? Really looking at some of these idiosyncratic stories out there, really looking, bottom up.
No. So the way I'm actually looking at the market overall is that the markets generally shift and change over time. And I think we're into a new sort of paradigm or sort of a new era. And I was actually having a chat with some high up crypto executives last night over dinner. And I think what's happened is that, we had the crypto phenomenon, we've had the meme coin phenomenon, and we've had meme stocks. And I think, the markets have been gamified here. And so if you, have an older methodology, yes, it might have worked in that past era, but it just feels like this is a different era, and you have to play it differently if you want to, survive going forward. It's kind of like, everyone loves the Warren Buffett methodology, buying value, discounted cash flows. Fair enough, that works back then. But it's kind of like if you were to open up a business today and say, oh, look, I'm going to put an ad in the yellow pages, and things have changed and things have moved on. And I think that's the way I'm seeing the markets at the moment, is that everything's been gamified. And the reason why I say that is that there's no real reason why SpaceX is worth nearly $3 trillion if you look at the fundamentals. But the thing is, there's still money flowing into that, and it just provides opportunities. It kind of reminds me of crypto back around 2017, 2018. And because I was coming from a stocks era into crypto, I kind of had those old beliefs, and I missed out on things that went 100x, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to have to readjust here. And I think it's going to be the same situation here in the stock market, in that there's going to be some massive moves in some of these stocks. It may not make any sense, but there's opportunity there, and you kind of have to adjust. And as always, the main underlying thing that keeps me in the markets is risk management. So while you do want to try and catch these momentum moves and catch these swings higher, you do have to manage your risk, and I think that's the key going forward.
Okay, so you reckon, and I'm just going to put a bow on it for our viewers and listeners, is that momentum is still what is going to run this market going forward, and that might be a permanent paradigm shift.
Yeah, absolutely. So the markets have shifted, meaning that there's more computers, there's more momentum traders, there's more algorithms in the market. And so if you are able to sort of catch that and manage your risk if it starts to turn around, I think you'll be able to make some good money out of this.
Jonathan, it's been a pleasure to have the chance to speak with you yet again today. And as I said, it was a great interview earlier on the trade if people want to go back and have a listen. And we've actually had a couple of viewers email in thanking you for your clear, succinct, and in their view, valuable views. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me.
Jonathan Takadina there from MPC Markets. Stock of the day was Flight Centre. My colleague, Andrew Gagan, spoke with Peter Rogers from Team Invest and Michael Gable from Fairmont Equities.
It's usually a bit of a tell when you, get an announcement from a company that at face value doesn't look great, but the share price pops. So it does tell us that the market was expecting potentially a worse impact from what's been happening overseas. Obviously the buyback helps. So look, I think in the short term you may see the shares lift higher, but I am still wary of the negatives in that sector, and that's clearly, consumer confidence is still very low.
Generally speaking, it's a pretty good result really for the whole year to sort of match where they were last year, given the quarter that they've had, it really comes down with Flight Centre as to what you think is going to happen with that piece deal in the short term. If you were sort of wanting to have a view on where the price was going to head in the short term, and that's a game for someone else. I suppose at Team Invest we like to focus on the business itself.
In a world of market noise and uncertainty, a disciplined approach to investing matters more than ever. Wealthy and Wise brings Team Invest's value investing playbook to AusBiz. Unpack how the macro environment impacts business analysis.
These are the conditions of major global bubbles. When you suspend disbelief and say, the earnings will come one day, just not now.
Put similar stocks head to head and make a call on which one wins.
I think it's a good time to be a stock picker.
What better time to buy than when the market is ignoring what is a wonderful company?
Plus, ask the Team Invest experts to deep dive into a stock or topic of your choice. Just email us your questions. Live from 1 p.m. every Wednesday, Wealthy and Wise is your guide to value investing, powered by Team Invest.
All right, so let's now take a look at what led this market higher. And I mentioned that a lot of these moves happened without, a lot of news behind it, or at least news that I can see. And that includes SiteMinder. I wonder if Web Travel Group sort of got caught up in what was happening with Flight Centre, and I suppose some clarity around what we're expecting the impact to be from the Middle East, and of course hoping for a resolution. Gold miners there, and ARB up by close to 7% to $19.57. Big US execution happening over there. Now, Karoon Energy, the strongest link between the oil price, at least listed here in Australia, it's down by 12%, adding to yesterday's losses after it cut production. Aperion X, look, this is a volatile stock. And it's down today by more than 4%. Woodside as well on the list. In the small end of the market, the leaders included Stealth, 33.33%. What a number. Alligator Energy in the uranium space, putting on 30%, but to just 5 cents per share. Some of those that underperformed, and that would include Bougainville Copper, which is obviously not a good thing when you consider what copper prices have been doing today. It's off by 41, close to 42%. Novonix off by 22%. Finder as well, shedding close to 13.5%. What's on tonight? I hope you could answer that question. US FOMC statement. It's the first under new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh. We also get US retail sales for the month of May, which would be really interesting to see how confidence was traveling even amidst a war. Okay, tomorrow, not a lot on the agenda here, but we do get a quarterly GDP read from across the Tasman, so we'll keep an eye on that one. And we've also been keeping a very close eye on this local market. Miners hitting a 2-week peak on those higher copper prices, helping to lift this market up by 0.5%. Nice to see some gains on the screen. We had strong sessions Friday as well as Monday. Yesterday finished flat, if you recall, relatively flat, after that decision by the RBA to leave interest rates on hold. We've had a little bit of data coming through internationally. Inflation in the UK holding at 2.8% in May, so under expectations for inflation to be running at about 3%. So I think that's really interesting as we continue to, obviously keep an eye on the inflation story right around the world. What else can I tell you as we look toward this US Fed decision? We've got the Iranian deal, including a $300 billion fund, more than half of which apparently has already been committed. That's according to sources. All our content from today is available for you to catch up with online at ausbiz.com.au. Hope you have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.